So our first aim is to study how we can set up our local environment. Okay, the environment on my machine, how I can set up and how should I proceed if I need to create any LLM based application. Then what should be my starting point? What IDE I will be using? How to create my Python environment? So all those things we are going to see today. Okay. So first of all, what is local environment setup? Okay, what are the challenges? First of all, if we will be using Python. Okay, so Python is the language, or Python is the language which we are going to use. Whatever libraries we will be using, those will be Python APIs from the providers like OpenAI or Gemini, maybe from Grok. So all these providers who create large language models or host LLMs, they do provide their APIs, which is in the form of Python. So in order to inference these large language models, what I need to do is I need to set up my Python environment on my local machine. Okay. But one of the challenges which most of the developers face is that their Python environment is not set up correctly, and they do face or they do encounter, errors like errors like no module named NumPy. Okay, so NumPy is again one Python library. So if you have written some code and when you run that code, you will see your IDE is giving you error that no module is found, or maybe no module named NumPy. So these are, some of the problems which make developers very, uh, you know, it's very frustrating to see all these errors. So that's why what we are going to do is, first of all, we will see how we can set up Python on my local machine on my laptop so that I can build projects on top of it. Okay. And why is this Python setup difficult? Because it's a bit different from the way we actually use NPM or Yarn for the JavaScript, right? So the way we manage the dependencies in the Python is a bit different from our conventional NPM or Yarn, which we use for the JavaScript. So in this module, we are going to see how we can set up the Python environment and how we can deal with those dependency issues which can create errors like no module found, or how we can streamline our development. Okay. So first of all, we need to install the Python. For that, we need to download the Python first of all. So have you done the installation, guys? Or let me take you to website first. Okay, so what you need to do is, first step is to download the Python. I hope you can see my browser.
Yeah.
Okay, so just go to the Python website, and this is the latest version. So these are all the previous versions, like this is 3.8, which is end of life. This is 3.9 Python, which is in the security status. 3.10, 3.11, 3.12 is in the bug fix. So these are different versions on which are having different statuses. So for example, 3.14 is the version which has not been released yet. Okay, so they are adding more and more features into this particular release, into this particular versions, and maybe in the future, like they are saying that maybe 1st of October they will be releasing this particular version. So this is something which we should not use. The other versions are, for example, 3.12 and 3.13 are in the bug fix. Okay, bug fix means they have been released, and if there is a bug being found, then they will be giving some fix for those bugs. Okay, so that community will be giving some bugs. Security means these versions are quite stable, and they are only getting some security fixes. Okay, if there is any security fix which the Python community thinks that is important, then They are just releasing security fixes. Okay. So what we can do is maybe we can go with the 13.12 version. Okay. So 3.12 is what you can download and install, and you can choose this one, 3.12 or 3.128. Okay, so you can go and you can download this, but any of these versions. Okay, so let me show you. Once you click on download, so if I'm using Windows machine, so I will go for Windows installer 64-bit. Okay, so it will download the executable file .exe file, and if you double click it, what you have to do is, since I already have this version on my machine, so I just in your case, if you're installing it for the first time, you will see that install it now, and there will be another checkbox which will say, do you want to add uh, the path of this installation in the path variable in the environments. Okay, so you need to check that box and you need to install it. Okay, can you guys do it? Maybe right now, or if you want, maybe after the call. Is that fine? Yes, no?
Yes, Surendra.
Okay,
Yeah, I have already installed and I have basic idea on this one actually.
that's great. Okay, so there will be a checkbox. You just need to check so that it will add the path of your Python in your path variable in your environments. Okay, so I'm skipping that installation because I already have couple of versions on my machine. Okay, so that was the first step to install the Python in your machine. So what we have just done is something, this version is basically which is installed on my laptop will be used by all the applications which are looking for Python. Okay, but in order to install it, if we want to work with any of the in any of the projects with the Python, what we need to do is we need to basically create a virtual environment. Okay, so I will not be using the version which I just installed. Okay, so that is something which is in one of the directories in my laptop, and it is being used by all the applications which are there on my laptop. What I want is I need to have one specific. Okay, let me show you. What happens is, let's say I am working on three different projects. This is my project one, this is my project two, and this is my project three. So my project one has dependencies that it needs Python 3.9, and it needs Streamlit version X.1 and Matplotlib X.3. Okay, and I'm working on some other project where I need Python 3.8, Streamlit X.2, and Matplotlib X.4. So since all the projects have different versions which are being required, so what I need to do is I will be creating virtual environments, one for each of my project. So how it will help? It will help me to bundle all the dependencies into one particular directory or one particular environment, and I will not be mixing these environments with each other. Is it making sense? Because let's say I need 3.9 version right here. So if I upgrade 3.9, my Python from 3.8 to 3.9, what it will do is it will may break the dependencies with Streamlit and Matplotlib. Okay, so in order to segregate each project from each other, what I will be doing is I will be creating different virtual environments for my project. So my project one will have its own libraries. It will have its own Python environment that may be using some Python 3.9. It will have some different versions of Matplotlib, Streamlit, and other libraries. And my second project will have some different, I mean, versions. Okay, so I don't want to mix them. They are basically get isolated from each other. And that's the first principle which we should learn, that whenever I'm working on any project, first of all, I need to create a virtual environment so that my dependencies are not mixed with any other project, and I don't get, a lot of exceptions which you see that can be avoided. Is it clear, guys? Why do we need virtual environments?
Yeah.
All right. So next is how to create that virtual environments. Okay, so we have couple of ways. We can either use a venv command, or we can use conda commands also. There is something also called as the poetry. So there are a couple of package managers which can be used to create virtual environments, but we will be mainly using venv commands, okay, which comes out of the box with the Python which we have just installed. So we can use venv to create our virtual environments. Okay, so these are the commands. So let me show you on VS Code itself. This is my VS Code. What I will do is I will create another folder, workspace. So I'm just creating another folder on my laptop. I named it workplace 1, and I will go to VS Code. Okay, also we will be using VS Code, which is Microsoft VS Code. Okay, this is another tool, IDE, development environment from Microsoft, which we will be using. Okay, and if you want to install it, I think I provided the link to you. You just go to VS download for Windows. If you click the first link, if you go into Windows, what you can do is it will download the dump. Okay, this is for 64-bit. Just run this particular executable. Okay, I think you can do it, guys. After this class, download the VS Code for Windows 64-bit and install it. Okay, so this is an IDE which we will be going to use. So this is how it will look like.
One query,
Mm-hmm.
Surendra. So is it a open source version? Or the
Yeah,
VS?
it's open source. It's not licensed. Okay.
Okay.
This is free of cost, and this is the IDE which is mostly used across the industry. Okay, there are a lot of plugins actually which can be used. For example, I have used I mean, if you are working on Azure platform, then it has a lot of plugins like Azure Resources, Azure Functions, Azure CLI tools, and things like that. So you can go and install these plugins. For example, I have also integrated this Copilot, which will help me to write the code. It will help me to autocomplete my coding things. Okay, so you can integrate it with Copilot as well, Microsoft Copilot. I created one video in the past how you can integrate Microsoft Copilot in VS Code. Okay, I will share the link. So this will basically be helping. This will be a coding assistant for you guys, which will help you to code quickly and fastly. Okay, so there are a couple of plugins which you can actually install: Jupyter, Cell Tags, PowerShell, Pylines, Python. Okay, so it if you are using anything, it will itself will be suggesting you what kind of plugin you should be using. Okay, so this is GitHub Copilot. Okay.
Now, what plugins we needed actually for this one?
Yeah, so what you can do is you can install GitHub Copilot, GitHub Copilot Chat. Other than that, you should be using this Python one. Okay, so these are the bare minimum. Okay, and then it's your choice. If you want to add couple of more, then you can do it. Okay, but these 2-3 are required actually. Okay, so this is on VS Code. Do you guys want me to run through the installation, or you can do it yourself?
So here, can you show us virtual environment where it has been created?
Yeah, that I will do. I'm just talking about the installation of the VS Code that you can do, right? You just need to download and install
Yeah.
the executable file. Okay. So once you are done, what you need to do is you open your VS Code IDE, go into the file, and you will see one option called open folder. So if you click on that, it will show you your Windows Explorer, and then you can select the folder, right, which you just created. You can create one folder like workplace at any place of your choice in any of the directories, and you just need to browse and select that folder. So what it will do is it will open that folder in your VS Code. Okay. For me, it was workplace one. So it just created, it just opened that folder. Right now it's blank. So now what my first step is to, what I can do is maybe I can create one file which is app.py. But in order to create, so and if you see in the right hand side, there is something called the toggle panel. If I click on the this particular icon, it will open the terminal for me. Okay. In the right hand side, there is a drop down where you can see what type of terminal you want. You want PowerShell, Git Bash, Command Prompt, Ubuntu. There are a couple of options. I will keep it PowerShell. Okay, so it will show me the path of my workplace one folder, which I initially selected as my workplace. Fair enough, guys. Do stop me if you're lost in between. Okay.
Uh, Surinder, in Python -mv environment,
Mhm.
we have seen there is a no like a point we can mention our Python environment. But in Conda one, you have mentioned we can mention our Python equal to 3.8 environment. So can we
Yeah, yeah,
mention the same with in B environment also?
yeah, sure. I
Okay.
will show you.
Okay. No.
So right now I'm in the PowerShell. Okay. And if I do something called Python hyphen version, it will show me which Python version it is pointing to. It is pointing right now 3.11.9. Okay. So if I want to change, if I if I create virtual environment at this point of time, it will be creating in Python 3.11.9. Okay. There is another command called py-o, okay, which will show me the different versions I have on my laptop. So on my laptop, I have Python 3.8, 3.10, 11, 12, 13, all different versions. And there is command called where Python. So it is not working here. Maybe I need to switch to. Okay, so it will show me the different path of my different versions of Python. So 3.119 is installed in this directory. 3.12 is installed in this directory. So if you want to create your Python environment in 3.10, then you can give this entire path, okay, this entire path into your command. Okay, so if you are, while creating your virtual environment, if you are using this Python version, then it will create the virtual environment in that version only. Okay, if you are using this path, then it will create the Python virtual environment with the Python version 3.11.9 only. Okay, I hope it is clear. So there is no straightforward way to give the Python version just like in the Conda, but while giving the Python command, you need to give the full path of your Python environment. Okay. So for example, this one is Python. This is pointing to Python 3.11.9. Okay. So the command for creating virtual environment is what? Python -m venv and the name of your virtual environment. Okay. Is it clear, guys? What I need to do, the command is Python -m venv, and this is name of your environment. This can be anything. For my case, I have kept it venv1. Okay, so this Python command is coming from this version. If you want to give it some other version, you have to give the full path of that version and then -m venv and the name of your environment. If I click enter, इसको मैं no कर देता हूँ. Let it create. So what it will do is it will create one folder with this name. Okay, so right now this is creating. So I can see it will create these library files. Pip is our package manager, which help us to install any library. Okay, if I will talk about more on that. So this has created this virtual environment. Okay, I can expand it. I can see what all directories it has created. This is the libraries. So these different libraries it has downloaded and installed. Now my second thing is, although I have created this virtual environment, but I have not activated it. So what I should be doing is I should activate my environment for my project. So the command for that is I need to go into my virtual environment and there is a script called activate. I need to invoke that script. So I can also see that if I go venv, where is scripts? In the script, there is something called activate. Okay, so I just need to invoke this particular file. So I'm saying my current directory, and from my current directory go into virtual environment v1 folder, which is this one. From there, I should be going into scripts and then I'm calling activate. So if I click that, it will activate my virtual environment for my project, and it will also indicate my current virtual environment, which is activated. It will append the name of the environment also. Okay, in front of my command prompt. Is it clear, guys? आ रहा है समझ में?
Yes, sir. So,
Yeah.
Surendra.
Okay, so right now I'm into my virtual environment. Whatever directories or whatever libraries I will be installing now will go into virtual environment 1. It will not go into my system Python. Okay, initially I installed Python on my system, so that is my parent. Okay, I don't want to change that, because changing or upgrading or altering that version will break lot of things on my laptop. So I don't want to touch that Python installation. For that, I just created one virtual environment, and whatever libraries I need for my project Workplace 1, I will be putting and installing those in virtual environment v1 only. For example, I want to install LangChain or maybe install python.env. So my command will be pip install python-.env. Okay. So pip is my package installer. What the pip will do, pip will from the repository, it will bring python.env library and it will install on my. You may have installed. No, this is not true. Okay, so it has installed .env. This is the .env. Okay, you can also go into your virtual environment in the library. You can check the .env has got installed in venv1. Okay, let's say I install pip install LangChain, then it will install all the LangChain libraries into my virtual environment. Similarly, if I need to work on some different project, I will create another folder for that, and I will be creating different virtual environment, and all the dependencies for that project will be created in that virtual environment, so that both of these environments remain isolated. Change in one environment won't hamper or break anything in my other environment or other project. I hope that is clear now.
So,
if
did you observe any compatible? Sorry, Surendra. Did you observe any compatibility with any other version of the Python?
No, I didn't get.
Oh,
Come
you
again.
mean my question? Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
have you, because I can see multiple versions of Python in your system.
Mm-hmm.
So because did you observe previously, like, is there any compatibility issue with other other Python installers with the Python version?
No, I mean, in enterprise applications, if we need to build some applications, we may be using some 50 plus libraries. Then we have to see all those libraries or all those third-party libraries are compatible with which version of the Python. That version we will fix and then we will be working. Okay, all the developers should have that version of the Python and same set of libraries. Okay, otherwise what will happen, let's say I am using Streamlit which is having version 4.0, but that version is not compatible with Python 3.13. Then what will happen, I cannot use Python 3.13. I need to use some other version which is compatible with my Streamlit API also. Okay, so like that we have to decide one version. For example, as you said, for the LangChain, for our codes, we will be mainly using 3.12 Python version, which is compatible with the LangChain, with the vector databases and things like that. Okay,
Yeah.
does that answer your question? Or
Yeah, I have basic idea, but
Mhm,
saying, see, I am already working, so now I need a Streamlit live pip package for my application.
mhm,
So right now my Python version will not support if I want to use that Streamlit
mhm,
Python.
mhm.
So what is, like, again, should I install Python and recompile, rebuild everything, or what is?
Yeah, so I will tell you what is the best practice. Okay, okay, let's talk about that. So okay, so what I have done is I have created my virtual environments and I have also installed two libraries. So if I want to see which version of LangChain I have just installed, I will see. I will put pip show LangChain. So what it will do? It will show me that I just installed 0.3.19. So the best practice is to create a file which is called, oh, not here. It should be in the root. Requirements.txt file. So what we do is we actually create this kind of file with this name requirements.txt file. And I will be putting, like, for this project, I have used LangChain equal to 0.3.19. Okay. And the other library which I installed was pip show. What was that? Dot Python dot env. It has a version of 1.0. 1.0.1. Okay, now let's say some other resource has joined our project and he wants to set up the entire project which is already working. So what I will be doing is I will be sharing this project along with this requirement.txt file. Okay, and let me uninstall. How to uninstall? Pip uninstall LangChain. There is another way to find out. So this is how you can find the version of your library. There is another command, like, I think it's pip freeze. Yeah. So pip freeze will do what? It will go into your virtual environment and it will fetch all the libraries. Okay. For example, when we installed .env or when we installed LangChain, it also installed couple of third-party libraries which it needs as a dependency. Okay. So it installed all those things. So when I run this pip freeze, it will show me all the different libraries with their versions, which are there in my virtual environment. Okay, so I can copy paste all these things and I can create this requirements.txt file, but sometimes this is not very accurate. For example, we just need to install these two libraries and it will install all those stuffs. Okay, so this is just another way, or maybe if you want to do, you can do like pip grep. If you want to see a particular version, for example, .env, This is not working. I think this works only in the Linux. Chalo, theek hai. So now what I will do is I will just uninstall my LangChain and also python.env. Okay. So now if I say pip show it's uninstalled, LangChain is also uninstalled. Now the proper way to install the libraries is like you should have this requirements.txt file. So you should be doing like pip install requirements.txt. I think pip install -r, because we have lot of libraries, right? Recurrent R means it will go into this file and it will go one by one and it will install. So usually I will do pip install -r requirements.txt and then just enter. So what it will do, it will install all the libraries which are there in this file. Fair enough?
Yes.
And then maybe once I need some other library, I can install it. I can put its name in my requirement.txt file so that once my development is complete, I actually know what for different libraries, what version I am working, right? On which versions my project is currently working. Okay, so I will put all those versions in my requirement.txt file, and then if I want to share it with someone, I can share this requirement.txt file. Once he runs that, he will be on the same set of version. So that was one thing. Now other thing is, if I need to create any Python file, I can create python.py file. For example, the code which we run last time, let me see if we can run that. Can anyone tell what code we ran last time in the last class? No one practiced?
Yes, sir, I didn't get time.
Okay, so I will just bring that one here. So in the last class, we talked about how we can invoke we can invoke OpenAI models, right? Using OpenAI libraries. So this is what we did. Okay, so let's see if we need to run this code in VS Code, what are the steps? So I will just copy paste. For example, what I need is I need to import OS. And another thing is, whenever we have those keys, what we generally do is we create .env file. Okay, so this is environment file. In the environment file, what I will be putting is I will be putting all my keys. So I will put this one, and I will put my key. Let me, where is my key?
Tanu, Fresh, పాపా నీకే చెప్పేది నేను 3 సార్లు మొత్తుకుంటుంటే ఏంది పాపా?
Can you mute yourself, please? I'm just trying to get the OpenAI keys for me. Okay. So in this .env file, we basically keep all our keys. Okay. So I have put my OpenAI keys. This is my property and this is the value. Okay, if I have some other keys, maybe LangChain keys, Mistral keys, or Gemini keys, I can put all those in my .env file. So this is a standard basically. Okay, so I have put my key in .env file, and what I need to do is I need to load this key, load environment file in my code. For that, see, since I have installed this Copilot, what it will do is it will suggest me the code which I am trying to write. Okay, so this is very important. Use the technology to get the things simple. So I have just clicked on tab from .env load, and then I need to call this load underscore dot environment. So what it will do is it will basically load this .env file into my OS. All the properties will be set. Now I will go back to my this file, copy paste this piece of code. This code is like from OpenAI, import OpenAI. This is my client. This is, I have instantiated OpenAI, and I'm just using chat completion API, giving my model name, and this is my, you can put anything, user, where it was played. Okay, so this is my code. Let me run. So when you need to run your code or any of your Python file, just put py and then name of your file app.py. Okay, let's see if it runs. It says what it is saying. No module called OpenAI. That means our OpenAI library is not there. So I am already in the virtual environment in my current. So I will do pip install OpenAI. Let me run the file again. OpenAI error, you exceeded your current quota. I think this was happening with me yesterday also. There is one argument actually. Give me a second. Override is equal to true. Load environment override is equal to true. Let me run it again. So this worked, right? So the answer is what was our prompt? There are list of messages which was sent to our which model? GPT 3.5 Turbo. Okay, so this model we tried to inference. This is the list of messages which we sent in the request, and the response which we got. If you tap into the messages, and if you want to see the content, the messages was, you are a helpful assistant who won the World Series 2020. The Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series in 2020. Where was it played? So the answer is the answer is the 2020 World Series was played at Globe Life Field in Texas. Is that fine? So this is how you can run your code in the VS Code. Okay, this is how you need to import your libraries. This is how you need to put the name of the libraries. This is how you need to put your keys. Okay, So this is actually a standard way. Create your virtual environment, structure your code in this way. We will be learning a lot of other things when we will actually work on our projects. Okay, we will see a lot more things. Is it clear up till now?
Yes, Surendra.
Okay. So that was on virtual environments. Okay. So similarly, what you can do is if you want to work with Conda, if you want to create your virtual environments with the help of Conda, you need to install mini Conda. This is the URL, and then you have to see the version of Conda, and the command for creating virtual environment is Conda create -- name demo environment, and then you need to activate. Once you are done, you can deactivate your virtual environments. Clear?
Hi, Surendra.
Yeah,
One thing like in real time, which is the best to use, like environment or Conda?
I think I use VENV only. That is good enough.
Because like okay, so suppose we need to practice which is required in real time basis, so that will be fine for
Yeah,
us.
yeah. VENV is what I mean, I usually prefer. You can go for it. Okay. VENV.
What is the like what is the difference between Conda and VNV?
See, as such, there is no difference. There is another way which is called poetry. So you can use poetry as well. It's just like, it's your own preference. Okay, so we have different cars in the market, right? It's up to you. You want to buy a Tata car or you want to buy a Hyundai car or Mercedes, right? So
Only
I mean,
that difference is the environment, but there nothing different in the codes or there different.
yeah. Nothing else. Okay, so I will go for VENV. That is out of the box. That comes with the Python. You need not to download anything like Conda. Yeah. Okay, so default method of virtual environments is the standard built-in way to isolate Python, use pip command, built-in some extra things. So these are some of the useful commands. If you install the Python, maybe you can use Python hyphen version. This is already hyphen. Then Python -0 gives you all the different versions of the Python, and this gives the path. Python -0p, it will give path of all those Pythons, where Python also gives the path. Pip install LangChain, this is how you install library. Pip show version .env file is used to save your variables and keys and values. Requirement.txt to store your library versions. Pip freeze can tell you. You can also do pip freeze greater than sign requirements. What it will do is whatever output which it got in the pip freeze, it will create requirements.txt file and it will put all those versions. Okay. Name of the library and equal to. And then if you have this already, you can use pip install -r requirements.txt. It will install all the libraries which are there. Okay. So that was on virtual environments and how to set up your local environment. Okay. Now let's move to second topic, which is Python. Let me close this one.
Surendra, that's it. Like we need to practice or real time basis. That installation is enough for to practice, right?
Yeah. So when we will be having some other sessions, we will be writing a lot of code in the VS Code, creating these Python environments. Okay, that time we will learn a lot more about some more things, right? How we can create the project. I mean, what is the way to create the projects, the different type of files and all those stuff while working on the real-time projects.
Just I don't know, maybe it's out of context, but just can you please tell me shortly what is why you are using VS Code environment, why you are using Python environment for this one? What is the difference or what is the beauty of both?
No, Python is the language, right? Whatever, as I said earlier, if you want to inference your language models, you have to call them, right? So if you want to call their Python APIs, you have to use Python only. If you want to talk to some citizen in the US, then you have to speak English, right? Then only you will be able to talk to him. If you want to talk to someone who is in Germany, you need to speak in German, right? Similarly, if you want to talk to these large language models, they have their APIs exposed in Python. So when we write code in the Python, we can invoke their APIs and then we can make use of those APIs to accomplish or to create our applications. Okay.
Okay.
VS Code is again an IDE which help us to organize our project, to create our project.
IDE means internal data engine.
IDE means integrated development environment, the place where you can go and you can develop your application. As I said, if you want to use the Microsoft Copilot, then you cannot use it in your notepad, right? You can write Python code in the notepad, but can you use Copilot in the notepad? No. You have to go to IDE, which help you to integrate with some different tools. For example, Copilot, you can integrate Copilot in the VS Code and then you can get benefited by Copilot while you are writing the code. Okay. Similarly, there are other advantages if you want to connect to GitHub. So you can use some commands to integrate your VS Code with the GitHub so that you can pull and push your code into the code repository, right? So these are a couple of uses. Okay.
Basically, we can say it's a VS Code is the environment where we can work, like we can coding ourselves, like for
Exactly. Just like for Java, we used to work in Eclipse. I mean, if you and anyone of you are from the Java background, Eclipse may we used to work, right, earlier. Similarly, these days for Python, industries are heavily using VS Code.
got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So next is to teach a bit on Python itself. Give me a second. I hope you can see my screen now, the presentation.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, why do we want to learn the Python? The reasons I have already explained. The other reasons are that it is one of the most powerful and one of the most popular language till date. Okay, so I'm not sure whether you will be able to uh, listen the audio. Let me play this video. Can you hear the voice, guys, or just the video?
Just the video, not voice.
Okay, I think that's fine. I mean, at least you can. Let me run this one. Okay, so I hope you have just seen how popular is Python these days. Okay, so this is one of the language which is most widely being used across the world. And why it is being used, there are a couple of reasons. For example, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Suren.
Yeah. So why Python is so famous? Because first of all, it's very user friendly. Okay, so its syntax is very user friendly, and it's an open source. Okay, we just installed the Python a couple of minutes back. Okay, and it has a very mature developer community. I think the Python came somewhere around 2003 or 4, so it's been more than 20 years now. So they have a very good community. If you are facing some bug, you can raise those issues. They get sorted out. They release the fixes for that. All in all, this is user friendly. This is an open source, and this is a mature language. There are corporate sponsors also. I think Facebook and Google's also sponsor Python. Other than that, the most important thing is its compatibility, its efficiency and speed. So I know the time when I used to work on Java. So if I need to create some data with the Java, I mean remember the time it takes to create files and write into the logs. Last week when I used Python to create 2 lakh rows, I mean it was just in 2 or 3 seconds. So it's so powerful, it's so fast that most of the people or most of the industries basically use Python these days. Most importantly, this is useful for data scientists because it has packages, it has those libraries which work very efficiently with the data. Okay, so that is the reason why we will also study the Python. And so this is compatible with, also it is compatible if you want to develop mobile applications, desktop applications, web development. It's compatible with all form of developments. It's the most reliable and faster than most of the languages. It is most popular in data processing in the organizations. If I need to analyze some data which is there in the database tables or in some CSV files, millions of rows in CSV file, I can use Python and it works like anything, right? So these are a couple of reasons why Python has become so popular. Okay, so if we talk about what are the different libraries which it provides, so they are important from the data science perspective, from the machine learning perspective. When I was working on machine learning some 2 or 3 years back, so I was using all these libraries. But when I came into the Gen AI, so I hardly use, but yes, it's worth mentioning these libraries. For example, SciPy is the library which is being used for scientific computing, linear algebra, statistical computations. Okay, if you want to, if you are working in a project where there is a lot of statistics, you have the data and you have to calculate median and standard deviations and things like that, then this is the Python library which you should be using, SciPy. Another is Matplotlib and Seaborn. I have used it a lot. Matplotlib and Seaborn helps you to plot the data. Okay, if you have data in some CSV files, let's say you have the data of housing prices, and if you want to visualize it in the form of plots or charts, you can use Matplotlib or Seaborn to plot that data in the form of charts. It will create nice charts, histograms, bar graphs, and there are a lot actually. I'm not remembering the names. So there are a lot of data visualization charts which you can build using these libraries. Okay. The another library is NumPy, which is numerical Python. This is very efficient in storing arrays and matrices. See, when we talk about machine learning, it's all about the data, right? It's all about weights. When we talk about neural networks, we have neural networks, we have neurons, we have weights. So we have to deal with a lot of data. And that data is not stored in a single variable, whether they are stored in arrays or in the form of matrices. The multiplication of these matrices and differentiation of these matrices is something which is impossible in some other languages. So that's why they have one package called NumPy, which is dedicated for these arrays and matrices and their operation.
Surinder, there is a one query.
Mhm.
In ML, what is the significance of the role of this weight and bias, like W and B?
Weight and bias, see, if you have some data in your CSV file and if you want to train your model, you will be using some algorithm. And when you train your model, what will happen is your model will try to fit some line in your data, some curve which can represent your data. Okay, for example, we talked about our housing problem. So if you want to see how the different variables or features impact the price of house, then once you train your model will come up with some equation basically, right? So that equation will represent your housing prices, how they vary with different variables. For example, we have y equal to x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4. That means how y is varying depending on the value of x1, x2, x3, and x4, right? So this equation, the machine learning is doing nothing but finding out that equation which fit in the most appropriate manner for the given data. So that equation will not be very simple. It will be like x1 cube plus 2x2 plus 3x to the power 4 and something like that. So these weights are nothing but they are like, for example, I mean, as I said, x1 plus 2x2. So this 2 is your weight. Okay. 3x cube, 3 is your weight. Okay. So these weights basically define your equation.
Okay.
Okay. And bias is something like when we say y is equal to mx plus c. This c is the basically bias. Okay. That constant value.
Okay.
Okay. So that's, I mean, one way to put it into simple words. So even when we train large language models, we have different weights across all the neurons. Okay, across all the layers, we have a lot of weights. We have to calculate the weight of the value of those weights only. Once we calculate the value of those weights, which are producing accurate results, our model is being trained. So we always try to build some function, the loss function. We instantiate our model with some random weights, and then once we feed our data, we create some loss. We calculate how our prediction is far away from our actual values. Okay, we create that loss and then we try to minimize it to reach to the values, appropriate values of the weights only. ठीक है, तो सारा खेल उस वेट का ही है जो हमें पता करना होता है कि फॉर विच वैल्यू ऑफ दोज वेट्स आवर मॉडल विल बी working efficiently. ठीक है, so this numpy is used there. Panda is again for data manipulation. If I want to load some data in my data frame, I will be using pandas library. Okay, so this will not be doing but we have used some of these in our session where I told you how we can you know, I gave you one example of the machine learning, right? We trained some model. So there, I think I was using all of these libraries. Other than that, we have something called scikit-learn. So this is a library which helped me to provide all the algorithms, right? Linear regression, logistic regression, random forest, whatever algorithm I want to apply, I can import it from scikit-learn library. Okay. Jupyter, just like we have this VS Code, just like we use Colab, there is something called as Jupyter also. Okay, this is IDE or development environment for data analysis in the Python. Okay, so the basic operations, if you learn any language, right, it can be C or Java or any other language. First of all, we learn the grammar, right? Even if we learn Hindi or English, we should know the grammar. Okay, so the grammar is like, you know, the basic operations, how we can do the print, how we can write the comments, how we can do the basic calculations, operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and how do we define variables, what are the different data types, what are the, this is one exercise, then how do we make use of loops, how we can compare and how we can put conditional statements, and how we can create functions, okay, and how we can create some classes. So all those things we will see today. Okay, make sense?
Yes, yes, yes.
The best way to learn any language is to practice it on the daily basis. Okay, once you know the basics, you can try to solve, at least one puzzle or one question of this language on the daily basis, then you will be perfect. So I hope you can see my screen. Colab notebook. So Colab is again what? This is an environment. We connect to the Google machine where Python and everything is already installed. I just need to run my code. That's it. Okay. And in my VS Code, as you saw, we were creating .py files. Okay. Here also I can create .ipynb, which stands for Interactive Python Notebook. Why it is interactive? Because first of all, Python is an interpreter-based language where we can run each line separately. Okay, it's an high-level language and it's an interpreter-based language. It's not like compiler-based language, just like Java. If you remember, or if you have worked in Java, what we do is we write our code in the .java file and we compile it first, isn't it? So it creates .class files and then finally it is converted into the machine learning language and then it gives the response. But this is interpreter based language where we can, instead of compiling the entire class or the file, we can run line by line. Okay. So first of all, the question is why this is interactive Python notebook, because you can actually also put some text here. Okay. So conventionally what we do is we write our code and we create some Word documents which explains whatever we have written, isn't it? In our design phase, what we used to do, we used to create some Word document about what are the different functions we have written, how we are doing the development, what is our approach and all. But these days, when we are working with the Python, there is something called as IPYNB, where I can create the documentation along with my code. Okay, for example, this gives me this text area where I can put Python basics. Okay. And the way to run any cell, okay, so these are called cells actually. This is one cell. And if I hover near the bottom line, I will see two options. One is code and one is text. If I click on code, it will create one code cell. If I click on text, it will create one text cell. Okay. And if you go into any cell, you can delete them as well. Okay. So in the text cell, I have written Python basics. If you double click, it will come in the edit mode. I have put one hash. Okay. So it's basically a markup language. Okay. So I have written Python basics. And if I put 2 hash, what it will happen is introduction. If I put 3 hash, variables. Okay. And if I do shift enter, it will run that particular cell. Okay, so now I can see I can do documentation along with my coding, right? So whatever I'm going to code, I can simply put my, I can create some quick documentation. Okay, so when I say single hash, it's a bigger heading. When I do double hash, it will create some subheading, and if I do triple hash, it will be further subheading. Okay, so I think it goes till 6 hashes. Okay, so it decreases the font and it creates subheading. Is it clear, guys? Why this is called interactive Python and how we can create some comments and quick documentation around our code so easily? So
Yes.
let me paste some code. So what I'm doing is with the single hash, it's my first Python program, double hash introduction to Python, and we are going to cover, I can create these bullet points with the asterisk. So if I put asterisk, all these text will be, so the right side basically shows you the, preview, how it will look like. And to know you can also insert links, right? To know more about Python, click here. So what we need to do for creating such links, we need to use these square brackets, and then we need to give the URL of our website. Okay. To know more about Python, click here, and once you run that, it will be shown like that. Okay, fair enough. So this is how I can embed my URLs, and I can create very nice documentation. So if I click somewhere outside also, it should exit, I think, or maybe shift enter. Okay. Now I will go to, I have inserted one another cell of code type. अब क्या करना है? We will see how we can start with our Python. The first thing what we do is print statement. Okay. This is like hello world. Hello world is like what? Om Ganesha Nama, right? Whenever we are starting any language, we always start writing. We learn about hello world. So this is our hello world. Okay. So in order to print any statement, for example, this is a string. We can put single quotes, or we can also put double quotes. It will not matter. Okay. So this is how we can write print statement. And you can see this is basically connecting. It will take some time for the first time because it is trying to connect some Google machine, and then it has executed our statement. Fair enough. We have not installed Python or anything. It has nothing to do with my local machine. It is just an virtual environment which is running on some Google machine. Okay. So this is how I can print my statements in Python. The very first thing we have learned. One way of documentation is like that. If I need to put comment, I can always put hash, and I can put my comments in the code cell as well. Today we are going to study some Python. Okay, so hash is the way. And if you have, I think this can also be done with, the shortcut is, I think, control hash, control, yeah, control / will also generate this hash. Okay, shortcut is control plus /. Okay, so this is to put comment. So print ho gaya, and then our basic operations. Basic operations. What I can do, I can simply write 4 + 1. This has become my calculator. Python has become my calculator. I can do 5 × 4. What I'm doing is shift enter. Shift enter. You can execute by clicking on this arrow sign, or you can do control enter. Shift enter. Okay. So this is working as a calculator. Okay. And so by default, what it will do is it will print my last statement. So if I write multiple statements, for example, I write 2 + 4, and I also write 2 × 4. And if I shift enter, it will only show me the last one. It will not show the output of the first line. It always show output of my last line. Okay. This is 8. It will not show me the 6. In order to show both of these, what I need to do is I need to use my print command. Okay. So basic operations, we will just see how we can do. This is like 2 + 2. This is like 3 - 1. This is like 2 × 4, 3 maybe. And there is something called 4. This is my division. There is another way which is called modulus. Okay. So what is modulus is? Can anyone tell what will be the result for this one? 5% to what is modulo?
2 or 2.
It should be 1, I think. This is 1. Okay, so modulo, this is modulo basically. Modulo or modulus.
Yeah, it's a remaining one. Correct. You are right.
Huh.
What is the
Okay, so
remaining
this
one?
remainder or remainder, what do we call it? Remainder. Okay. So this is division, multiplication, all those things which you already know. There is another thing which is called power. Okay, so if I want to do 2 to the power 3, it should be 2 into 2 into 2. Okay. So these are basic things. Okay. Some basic operations. Other than that, defining the variables. Okay. How we can define the variables. So if we talk about variables, mainly there are 3 type of data types. Data types or data types. One is your string data type, other is your numeric data type. This numeric has integer and float. Okay, and the third is your Boolean. Okay, so how do we define? Let's say A is equal to 1. This is how we can define. B is equal to, this is my string type. First one is my numerical type, and C is my Boolean type. If I run, okay, and how can I check the, so Python is smart enough, based on your variable only, it will create the data type, right? In some other language, we used to do, right, string A is equal to something, right? We explicitly define the type of this variable. But in Python, based on the value it is going to store, it will create its data type on its own. Getting? But if I'm confused, I want to see what is type of my variable, I can put the type command. Okay, type and then the name of the variable. Type and name of my variable. So what it will do? It will show me, oh, print. Some basic stuff, guys. Okay, so this is an integer type, this is string type, and this is Boolean type. Okay. Fair enough. So another is like if I need to do, let's say, one operation which is adding 2 numbers. Okay, so what I can do, I can say D is equal to 4. And if I want to say print A plus D, what should be my answer? 5. And if I say A is equal to hi, B is equal to, how are you? So these string can also be added. Okay, so what this plus will see, this Python is smart enough to see, to observe that my type of my A and type of my B is, they are string type. So instead of adding them numerically, what it will do is it will concatenate these 2 strings. Okay, so that's why we say Python is very smart. Now tell me, if C is my 11 and if I write, what will be my answer? Anyone? क्या आंसर होगा guys?
Only one will be add like a string there. Huh?
This is high, B and C is 1. So what should be my output? My output will be an exception because they are of not same type, right? So these are two integer type of variables and this is of these are two of string type and this is integer. So it cannot basically do this operation. Okay, so it can do plus only with the same type. If they are both integers, then it will add. If they are both string, then it will do what? It will concatenate. Fair enough. So what I can do is I need to do some typecasting. Okay, in order to add these, I need to make them of same type. How I can do that? This is my string. Can I make it integer? How can I make integer to high? That is not possible. But can I make a string out of my integer? Let's see. Okay, I can do that. Hi, how are you? And this C is now converted into string. So now A, B, C, all three are string and I can concatenate it. Okay. So that was just one and small example to show you how you can do casting, how you can add the variables of similar types, what are the different data types are there, string, integer, boolean. Okay. Fair enough. What next? The important aspect is our list. Okay. So let me, one of the important type of data type is list. What the list is used for? List is used to store multiple values. Correct? So these variables for storing just one value, right? Now, if I need to make a collection of lot of values, what I should be doing is I should be creating list type of variable. So my A is, B is nice. So what I can do, my list, I can declare my list and in the square brackets, I can put my variables like my list A comma B. So what it will print is, this will not print anything. If I do print list, will it print anything? It will print the entire list. My list is nice. Okay? So there are 4 elements in my list. Is it making sense, guys? It's a collection of elements basically. And the best thing is within this list, I can have data types of members of different data types as well. Okay, so what I can do is I can also add C of integer type within my list. So I can do something like that. This is also valid. So my list can have members of string type or integer type as well. Mixture of different data types into one single list. Also, I can have list inside the list also. Okay. Make sense? Let's say I have a list which is having hall, kit, kitchen, living room, bedroom. So these are some different variables. What I will do, I will define one list with the hall, kitchen, living room, bedrooms. Okay. Now, if you want to see what is type of my variable, my simple command is type areas. If I do that, I will see this is of list type. Okay. List type. And let's say I want to access first member of my list, then its indexing starts from 0. My first element will be at 0. Okay. So if I print this one, if I want to access the first element, I can simply go and why did it printed list? Oh, sorry, my list name is areas now. Okay, so this will point to my first element. ठीक है? If I want to point to second element, second element, I need to put 1. ठीक है? If I want to access the last element, there is a shortcut. Instead of counting at what number it is coming, I can put -1. So this is 9.5. So this list is again important thing to know. Sometime while coding applications, we may need to use list. आ रहा है समझ में? What other example I can show you is we can also do the range of list. Okay, if I want to print all these values, I can give the range of the values also, right? For example, what I can do, print zero and then 1. So 0 से लेकर के 1. Let's say 2 दे दिया मैंने. What will happen is it will print 11.25 and 18. Okay, 0 element, first element and second element. It becomes 3, but my output is just 2 elements. The reason being, when I give the range like 0 to 2, this is not included, the second one, but this is included. Okay, so this means from 0 till 2 minus 1 till 1. So 0th element and first element, both will be printed. So this is a weird syntax, but this is how it is. Okay? And if I don't give this 0, that also means right from starting or beginning till 2. Okay, if I give just 1, it means from 1 to 2 minus 1 means it will only print one element, which is at second position, 18. Okay? If I put something like 3, it will print 2 elements, first element and second element. ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है? थोड़ा सा इसमें क्या होता है कि this first is included, this is not included. Okay, so you have to do -1. So that was on list. You can add list and you can do couple of operations. We will not go into that much of depth. Another important data type is dictionary, which we will be creating, which we will be doing a lot of time in our exercises. Dictionary. Okay. So how do we define dictionary? Simple. I can write how to define dictionary. The way is to use this curly braces, and dictionaries are actually nothing but they carry key value pairs. Okay, if you want to store the values in the form of keys and their respective values, then I can create an object of dictionary type. Here my dictionary is key 1 has this value, key 2 has this value, and how to access these different values. What I can do is my underscore dict and then key 1, sorry, key 1. So this will print value 1. There is another way of accessing. That is my underscore get. Okay, you can use get also. Both work similarly. If I want to access the value of my second key, then I can do something like key 2. It will give me value 2. Okay, so this dictionary object or data type is used to store key value pairs basically. List is used to store, this is one dimensional. This will store only the different values, but those values can be of different data types and they can also store list within the list also. Okay, pretty much basic stuff. And the next thing which we will quickly see is how to build loops. Okay, how to create loops in Python. Very simple. For loop, for example, what I can do is for I in range 10, print I. Okay. What it will do is it's a syntax for loop. For I in range 10, or maybe let's say if I want to print all the elements of my list, print all elements from my list using for loop. Not giving me any hints how to print all elements from my list using for loop. For I in my list, print I. So what it will do? It will print all the elements of my list. ठीक है? आ रहा है समझ में? So this is how we can use loops. For loop is what we generally use. Next is conditions, how we can write different conditional statements. So what we generally use is if else, right? If this is something, then do this, else do this. If x is equal to 3 and y equal to 3, and if you want to compare, if x is less than y, then I want to print something, else if. So in this Python, instead of writing else if, we just use elif. Okay, elif if x is greater than y, and this is how we put the colons basically. Okay, that means this is a condition, colon, and then and one important thing in case of Python, indentation is very important. So you can see my if condition starts here, then my else should also be should be on the same indentation. Indentation means if I click on tab, so this will make a different signs and it will give me error also. Okay, so they should be in the same indentation, means they should be aligned in the same way. If, else if, so it basically defines their scope. So if it starts from here, this else if is also at the same level, and then we have the else. If, else if, and finally else. So if I run that one, it will say x is equal to y. Okay. Any questions, guys? I'm just talking and talking.
No, good.
So these are our, and the next thing is how to write our functions. Okay. How to write Python functions. That is very important. We can use that means definition of a function, and then name of the function. For example, compare numbers. This is name of my function, and in the brackets, I can put my variable names. What is my input parameters? X and Y are my input parameters. I can also define their types. For example, I can define this is of integer type. This is also of integer type. And if I want to also define the return or the output, okay, what is type of the output, then I can say my output is of integer. Okay, so let me first run without all these things. Okay, so this is the simplest way. X and Y are my input parameters, and then it will compare X and Y. In order to call this function, I just simply need to say result. There is no result, right? I'm not returning anything, I'm just printing. So I can simply call this function with 1 and 2. Okay, if I execute this function, it will say X is lesser than Y, 1 is lesser than 2. Okay, what I was telling you is, if you want, you can also tell X should be integer. This should also be integer. My output should be type integer and then colon. If I do that, this also should work in a similar fashion. If I give something like hi, then it should return some error. Okay. because I have already defined that my input should be of integer type, not a string type. Okay, fair enough. So next thing is how we can define classes also. We can define classes. Let me show you. It has shown me a class. The class name is person. This is init function. Within my class, I have this function which takes name and age as an argument. And if I want to create instance of this class, what I need to do is person, and then I need to give 2 parameters. This is basically constructor kind of thing. Okay, so whenever you create object of this class, this constructor will be called, and if you pass these name and age, it will set these variables with the age and name. Okay, so if I execute this one, it print p1 is object of this class. John and 36 are the name and the age, which are now printed. p1.name, p1.age. So this is how you can create the classes as well. Okay. So this is very basic stuff on the Python, how you can do basic operations. There is a lot actually. Python is like a subject. It's a 6th month kind of thing. It's a semester in itself. Okay. So, but yes, in order to start with, I think you can start with these basic introductions, and then you can, try different problems in the Python, and you will gradually learn. Okay. And we will also be using Python in our entire course. So time to time, I will be telling you if we are dealing with something which we have not covered today, I will be explaining you those things in the session itself, whenever we'll be using it. Any questions, guys? Python is difficult at a point when you are trying to analyze the data. You have to create data frames, and then you have to drop some columns, you have to drop null values, you have to add another column, you have to remove duplicates, you have to put where conditions. That kind of stuff when we are doing, doing some feature engineering in the machine learning, then learning Python becomes a must. But in our course, we will be simply invoking APIs, right? And then we will be doing some import statements, using some basic code to invoke a function or method. We will pass our values and then get the response and parse the response. That's it. Okay. So yeah, so that is all I had today on how to set up our environment and some basic introduction to Python. Anyone else has any questions, any suggestions?
Like Surender, this session is good for me, but if we have like some commands like or some cases where we are dealing with our day-to-day work according to using Gen AI, so that also be helpful. Like we need to practice those things and we need to learn. Like for interpreting, maybe they are asking some questions like how you and also.
Correct. So those things we will be doing, with our hands-on. Whenever we will be doing hands-on, I will be explaining you the entire code, what each line is doing. Okay. So from there you can, take it forward. Okay. Okay, guys.
Surinder, there is a one query again. For this one, if we install the LLM model in our own infra, for example, free one, no charge, correct?
Correct.
If there is open source, and in case of like a paid one, I think then how it works for tokens and all, how it will be calculated.
On your laptop?
No. For one EC2 instance, I have provision over the AWS infra, and I have installed manually. Like can be installed manually that paid one also in there, not the from AWS Bedrock, but from our only EC2 instance. Can we do this setup? Please check if you get the opportunity. and let us
Mm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And how the payment will work there, like token wise and these things, if we use the API there, API call and all.
Correct, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Surendra, one query actually.
Mm-hmm.
For the Google Colab, we can find all these commands without any installation because it's a virtual environment, right?
Correct, correct.
We no need to install Python and we need to install virtual environment, all these things. But real time, any company or anything, anybody use the Google Colab as a license version to without install anything, like they are simply
No, no. So I mean, as I said, this is Google Colab is mostly used in the in the education purpose. So for example, I have just explained you all these commands. Okay. So I have also created the documentation. Now it is very simple for me to download this Colab file and share with you. Now, once you open this file again in your Google Colab environment, you will be able to execute everything. Right? So there are no SS dependencies. Otherwise, what will happen if I do all these things in the VS Code, there are a lot of dependencies. Maybe it's working for me, but when you try to work, it may not work with you because of some libraries, because of some conflict. So in order to make that seamless, most of the time YouTubers and all those things, whenever they are teaching anything, they will share one Google Colab file, which you can download and you can run it. So I mean that's the simplest way to share the work basically. But in industry and all, we don't use these Google Colab things. We will basically develop our things on the VS Code. We show the demo to the clients on the VS Code and using Streamlit basically. That time we also develop user interface so that it looks nice. We cannot go to client saying that this is our code and this is how I run it. I mean, they will not like it. So this is for the developer community to share their work basically.
So Surendra, what the thing I saw for Streamlit, I think it is for for small application. If for like example for production one, there is a like bigger applications and it's using worldwide. Then in place of Streamlit, what we can use?
So you can use React and Node.js. I mean, there are different languages, right? So you will ideally be having some front-end team who will be developing front-end, and then you need to integrate that front-end with your back-end Python code, which we will
So
learn.
what you have seen in industry, what would be the preferable?
So they use React most of the time. I mean, this is
React.
what I have seen. Yeah,
Okay.
React.js.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Chalo, then I think today we also have a match. So,
Okay. Bye.
chalo. See you guys. Thanks
Yeah.
everyone. Bye. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone. Bye.